I'm gonna discuss with you tutorial 1 chapter 1, again workbook, for question 4O. Alright, now this question is solved for absolute value 3 over by x plus 5 less than equivalent to 4 over by x minus 3. Now this is inequality, a non-linear one. Alright, it's an absolute value, but again, absolute value, there are two things that you can do. Whether you can do squaring both sides, or you can use definition. Now by definition is that, alright, the first one would be if absolute A less than or equivalent to B, then you will have A in between negative B and B. Or the second one, if you have A greater than B, then your A greater than B or A less than negative B. Now, but for squaring both sides, you must know that both sides must be positive. If one of the side you don't know whether it's a positive or not, then you cannot use squaring both sides. Okay, this is just that one thing that you have to check. But definition for sure doesn't matter whether one side is positive or negative, but if you have an absolute value, you can use the definition. Alright, now for this question, now ask yourself, can we use the squaring both sides question? Can we use the part 1 for this squaring both sides? No, right, because one side is you have the absolute value, which is known is positive. But on the other side, you have 4 over by x minus 3. Now 4 is positive, but the matter is that you have x minus 3. Now this x minus 3, your x is unknown. So when you have the x is unknown, this particular x, if minus by 3, it can come up to become a positive number or a negative number. For example, if I put 4 minus 3, it will be 1, a positive number. But if I put 2 minus 3, it will be negative 1, which give you 4 over by a negative 1 will give you a negative number. So this one, you do not know whether it's a positive or a negative. Thus, you cannot use the squaring both sides. So the only thing that you can use is by definition. Now what definition that you want to use is that because it is less than, you have to take the first definition, this definition. Okay, now write it down. So the definition say that if you have the absolute value of A less than B, A will be in between negative B and B. So to eliminate the absolute value, you will have 3 over by x plus by 5 in between, because you have the equivalent sign, put the equivalent sign, negative for B the whole lot 4 over by x minus by 3, and another one 4 over by x minus by 3. Okay, now for this part, how you want to solve is it? Can you solve it straight away from here? Question. You cannot, because you have x minus 3 on the bottom part or the denominator part. So what you can do is that you can separate into two parts. So the first part, you can have negative 4 over by x minus by 3, which is less than equivalent to 3 over by x plus 5. Since it is in the middle or in between, so you have the n, and 3 over by x plus by 5 would be less than equivalent to 4 over by x minus by 3. And from here, now it become a rational inequality. Again, rational inequality is a non-linear inequality. Okay, a non-linear inequality, again, you first must put your right hand side become 0, and then you factorize completely, means that you have to factorize numerator and denominator, and then you have to do whether graph or sine table. But for rational, you just have to do sine table, and then you solve for it. Okay, now do both sides. So let's look at the one side first. So if you have this one, to make it the one side become 0, it become negative 4 over by x minus by 3, and then minus out 3 over by x plus by 5 less than equivalent to 0. Then what you do is that you will have to multiply negative 4 multiplied by x plus by 5 minus by 3 multiplied by x minus by 3 over by the whole thing. You will have x minus by 3 multiplied by x plus by 5, which give you less than equivalent to 0. Okay, then you can simplify. You're gonna get negative 4x minus by 20 minus by 3x plus by 9 over by, you don't have to expand on the denominator part because it's already been factorized, so just write it back. Right, then simplify. You're going to have negative 4 minus by negative 3, which give you negative 7x, and then negative 20 plus by 9, it will give you negative 11 over by x minus by 3 and x plus by 5, which is less than equivalent to 0. So far okay? Alright, now the second part. For the second part is the same process, which is you have to do x plus by 5 minus by 4 over by x minus by 3 would be less than equivalent to 0. And then again 3 multiplied by x minus by 3 minus by 4 multiplied by x plus by 5. I'm gonna move this over by, then this one will be again x plus 5 x minus by 3 less than equivalent to 0, and you expand 3 minus 9 minus by 4 x minus by 20 over by x plus by 5 and x minus by 3 less than equivalent to 0. Simplify, you're gonna get minus x minus by 29 over by x plus by 5 and x minus by 3 less than equivalent to 0. Okay, now until this part you already factorized completely, means that numerator already factorized, denominator factorized also, the same part, this part, and also the denominator part. Okay, so both has been factorized completely. Okay, then what's next that you have to do sign table. Now sign table you have to do for both part, for the first part and also for the second part. Alright, so the first part, first thing is that you determine your zeros for the first and the second part of your rational inequality. Now the first one would be having negative 7x minus by 11 equivalent to 0. So you have one of the zeros would be negative 11 over by 7, and the denominator would be having x equivalent to 3 and also negative 5. For the second part, we're gonna have negative x minus by 29 equivalent to 0. Simplify, you're gonna get x equivalent to negative 29, and the denominator will be having negative 5 and 3. Then you put into the sign table. So you have the sign table of the factors of negative 7x minus by 11, x minus by 3, x plus by 5, and the last part will be your resultant sign. So the smallest number over here is negative 5, then comes negative 11 over by 7. So you put it one by one, which negative 5, negative 11 over by 7, and also 3. Now how to know the sign? Again, the shortcut way is that you look at the factors. So the factors over here, the x have a negative, the zeros for the factor is negative 11 over by 7, means that after the number is going to be having negative and negative, and before it will be plus and plus. Okay, now the second factor is x minus 3 with a positive x, the zeros is 3, so after the 3 will be plus, before that will be minus. And for the x plus 5, the zeros is negative 5, after negative 5 will be plus plus plus, then the behind the number will be negative sign. Then you have plus minus minus, which give you plus, and then plus minus plus, we're gonna give you minus, minus minus plus, gonna give you plus, and this one gonna give you minus. Then the first part wants you to have less than equivalent, means that you're gonna have to take the negative part. So you can conclude your answer. The first part, you're gonna have your x belong to negative 5 until negative 11 over by 7, union by 3 until infinity. Now for the bracket, always check, do you have anything that you have to be open or close? So the question given, you have equivalent sign. But remember that you have a denominator over here, means that your x cannot be equivalent to the 2, 0, 3 and negative 5, which you have to exclude. So means that your bracket will be having open bracket at negative 5, close at negative 11 over by 7, open at 3 and open at infinity. Again, check for your denominator where x cannot be equivalent to 3 and negative 5. Now, do the same thing for the second part table. So you're going to have this table. Now let's look at the first factor. Negative x minus 29, you have a negative over here, means that after the 0, negative 29, you're going to have a negative sign. Before that, you're going to have positive. Then x minus by 3, the 0 is 3, because you have a positive here, positive after 3, negative before it, and x plus 5, negative 5, after negative 5, plus before it, negative. Plus, minus, minus, plus, minus, 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 plus will give you plus, and minus plus plus will give you minus. The question wants you to find less than equivalent, means that you have to take the negative symbol. Okay, then you can conclude your x will be belong to negative 29 until negative 5, union by 3 until infinity. Again, because you have a denominator over here where x cannot be equivalent to negative 5 and 3, thus your bracket will be having close, open, open, open. Are you done? My question. Are you done? Since you have two parts of answer, you have to look back at what the definition says, which it is in between, means that you have n. And here means intersection. For intersection, you need to draw a real number line. So draw your real number line. So the smallest number would be having negative 29, then comes negative 5, then comes negative 11 over by 7, and comes 3. The first part answer in between, open for negative 5, close would be solid for negative 11 over by 7, and then open would be whole at 3 until infinity. So this is your first part. The second part would be having negative 29 close, which is solid, negative 5 is open, which is a whole, then 3 will be a whole until positive infinity, the second answer. To combine, you find the intersection, which give you is only at 3 until positive infinity. So you can conclude your final answer. For this question, the solution will be x belong to 3 until infinity with both an open bracket because a hole over here. Okay.